Greetings the internet, this is 9arc and welcome back to my series on making a platformer in Construct 2. This is part 6 of a 200 trillion part series. If you haven't seen the other videos, go back and watch them. You'll end up here. We got some pretty sweet things going. We got some coins, a score, jumps, there's platforms, different kinds of platforms and stuff. So what we're going to be adding today is the dangerous enemies of video games. And what I mean by that is spikes, the most notorious video game villain of all time. I moved that coin over there because I'm going to put my spikes right here. So let's insert a new object, go to Sprite, we're going to put it right there, and I'm going to resize this to 32 by 16. Now it doesn't matter what you actually decide to make the size of your spikes, but for the sake of this particular video, we're going to be doing things a little bit different than we've been normally doing. So normally I would say put the origin to 0, 0, so it's up in the right corner, but I actually want the x origin point, the x of the origin point to 16, so it's right in the center. And I'll show you why I'm doing that in a second, but for now let's actually just make some spikes. So let's just you know, a masterpiece of spikes. Unprecedented spike design by 9arc. I don't know, I'm taking time on this. Anyway, okay, cool. So we have some spikes. Now, I have these spikes on the wrong layer, so if you ever do that on accident, just go over here to Layer, click on Main, lock the HUD, put your spikes down, and problem solved. Okay, so that is an annoying thing that happens, but you know, whatever. Okay, so the thing that we want to do with our spikes is interact with our player. So what we want to do is when he lands on the spikes, he jumps up and gets kind of pushed away from the spikes. He turns invulnerable for a second so that he doesn't take any damage right afterwards, and then it goes back to regular, and he also loses health, like loses 1 health point. Alright, so first thing we want to do is go to our event sheet, insert a new global variable, and we're going to call it health. And this is going to be a number, and we want the initial value to be 3. It doesn't really matter what you want, but I'm going with 3. Cool. Alright, so we're going to add our health to our HUD the same way we have it as score. So let's go to our layers, unlock the HUD, even though I just locked it. Go to our projects. We're going to copy these HUD things so that we can use them again. Alright, clone, and we're going to call this one HUD health text. Let's drop that in here, put it over here, scale it to 0.5 like the other one. We're going to change the text to say health, put a colon, shorten that up. I'm going to move score over 1 so you know it's the same. Alright, HUD score, we're going to clone that. We're going to change HUD score to HUD health. Drop that in over here, change the text to, change the scale to 0.5, and then we're going to change the text in our code. So if we go to our event sheet, under our HUD, we have this blank event that just means every tick. We're going to add another action, go to HUD health, down to set text, and we're going to change the text to health. Sorry, not quote health, just health. Make sure this comes up, make sure you see the global variable health. If you type in health like this, it's literally going to come up with the word health. That's not what we want. Alright, so now if we play our game, we have our health right there at 3 next to our score, but it doesn't interact with the spikes in any way. So let's fix that right now. Alright, so we're going to want to add some instance variables to our player. So if you click on your player and go over to the side in instance variables, what an instance variable is, say that 5 times fast, is a variable that applies directly to an object. So we could have put health and score as instance variables on our player, but I wanted you to be aware of global numbers, so that's why they're global. But you know, to each his own. Anyway, we want to add a couple of these. We want to add one that is called invul, and we're going to make this a boolean. Now what a boolean is just a true or false statement. It can only be one way or another. So yeah, if you want to read more about that, you can search Wikipedia for Boolean algebra and learn a whole bunch of interesting stuff. Just kidding, that's not very interesting. Anyway, so we want our invul, so our character to be invulnerable, and we want it to be false because we don't want him to be invulnerable at the beginning. We only want him that once he gets hit by some spikes. Cool. We need to add some other ones, but I can't remember what they are right now, so we're just going to keep going, and I'll figure it out from there. All right, so let's add a new group, and we're going to call it enemy, even though spikes, not really enemies, but they're kind of enemies. We're going to add a sub-event, and we're going to go to player, and we're going to say, on collision with another object, click to choose our sprite of our spikes. Now, if you guys were cool and ahead of the game, you would have already renamed this sprite to spikes, and you would have made a new subfolder and called it enemies, and put the spikes inside the enemies folder, and it would have been great. But I did not do that. So it's okay because it changed it all and fixed everything for me. So now the obvious thing to do was on collision with spikes to go to subtract from our health 1. And that I guess sort of does what we want it to do. Every time you collide with it, you lose a point, but that kind of makes it boring. And it's just not a very nice way to do things. Like I said before, we want him to jump, and when he lands on it, like jumps away and gets a little jump away. So when he's on the right side, he jumps this way, and when he's on the left side, he jumps this way. Now this is why we made our origin point on our spikes in the middle, because all we have to do is some simple code. So we're going to go to here, and we're going to add a, click on here, add a sub event, go to our player, and compare x. Now we want, if it's on the left side, to be less than or equal to. Now I'm going to make this one less than or equal to. The next one will be just greater than. That way we don't trigger anything strange when you land right in the middle on the very center pixel. So less than or equal to, our x coordinate is going to be spikes.x, and we're going to duplicate this. To make this, thank you, greater than spikes.x. Okay, so getting our character to react to it. Now, the way we do this is we add an action, go to your player, go down to the platform, and go to set vector x. Now, what a vector is in Construct 2 is basically like a force. So you would be pushing your character a certain amount of space according to the physics of the platforming engine. If that's too confusing, just think of it as a force. Like, you'll see. So set vector x, we're going to, this is on the left side, or is it on the right side? What am I doing? Player. Set vector x. So this is on the left side, so we want him to go negative 250 pixels back. It doesn't actually matter how many pixels you do, and in fact, I actually kind of like 75 anyway. So we're going to do negative 275. So now you'll see nothing happens when we land on this side, and that's because we haven't coded that side yet. But if we go to here, it pushes our player back. But if we land over here, nothing happens. So that's pretty cool. But we want them to fly up in the air as well. So we're going to go to add action, go to player, and go down to set vector y. Now this is just the up and down vector. So in case you're not familiar, I guess, x is left and right, y is up and down. So we want them to go negative 275 pixels up. So remember, the layout starts at 0, 0. So when you're going down, the numbers go up. So we want them to be negative, go negative pixels, which means he goes up. So let's try that again. Now you'll see when he lands on it, gets a nice little jump back. And it's hurting his health as well. But we need to fix how the health works in a second, because as you can see, if you do that, you just keep taking health, and it's not very fun. All right, so now all we have to do is copy these, hold down control, drag it down to this one as well. We just need to, I don't want that one. Now set the vector x to positive 275. And you'll see now we have a cool setup where he hits the spikes, he jumps over there, jumps over there. Right. So the first thing we want to actually set up is his invulnerability. So I'm going to add a new group, and I'm going to call it player, and then I'm going to put the movement group inside of the player one, so we have it all kind of together. I'm going to move player back to the top because it's the most important, and then click on player, add a new subgroup. We're going to call this invulnerability. What a word. All right. Excuse me. All right, so basically what we need to happen is the player hits something, a timer starts, it goes for 1 second, and when the timer ends, you become vulnerable again. So how we get a timer is we click on our player, go to behaviors. I have Flash here already. We'll get to that in a second. And we're going to go to timer right here. All right, so add a sub event, and we're going to go player is Boolean instance set. So is invulnerable true? Is invulnerable. We're going to add an action, and that action is player set start timer. And we want it to be 1 second, we want it to be type once, and we're going to change the tag to invul. And then this is something I'm a little bit confused about. I'm not sure why you would think that it works this way, but if we have to add another condition, go to system and go to trigger once while true. I know it has something to do with the invulnerability happening over and over again and the timer starting over, but I figured the once should cancel it out. But anyway, the easy fix is just system trigger once. Make sure you put that in here. So yeah, so now we want to add a new event below, not a sub event, a new event below, and we're going to go to player on timer. So this is when the timer finishes. I'm going to write invul. I'm not sure why this doesn't autocomplete either, but make sure you have the same name as the timer. So once the timer finishes on invul, we want our player to set boolean, and we're going to go to invul equals false. All right, so what's one more thing that we have to do? Let's delete this system subtract 1 from health, and we want to add an action, or sorry, add a sub event. Go to player is boolean true. So if you're invul, but we want to invert this like we've done before, so right click invert. Now if the character is not invulnerable, then we want to add the action of taking the player, subtracting from add action system, since it's a global, subtract from health 1. Cool. So now we'll see that this doesn't work at all. It still does what it used to do, which is not what we wanted, and that's because I didn't put on player on collision with spikes. We want to make the player, under the invul, add action, go to player, set boolean, invul to true. All right. So now when you hit the spikes, if you're not invulnerable, then it subtracts from your health and sets invulnerable to true. Now why we don't want this here is because every time you hit the spikes, your invulnerability would start over, and we don't want that. We want it to only be as soon as you lose 1 health, it sets to true, then we wait for a second, it becomes false again. So now, if you hit it again, see, it only reacts when a second has passed by. All right. Cool. But we don't actually know how long our invulnerability. Man, if I never have to say that word again, my life would be so much better. What we need to do is make him do a little flashing, and that's super easy to do actually. So if you go down to our behaviors, we add a new behavior, we're going to add general flash. And this is super easy, so once invulnerable starts, we're going to go add action, player, go down to flash, click on flash. On time and off time just means like it switches between these, so it would be 10 times over 1 second it would flash on and off. You can, if you make this like shorter or longer or something, I don't know, you can play around with that, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the duration is 1 second, because that's how long our timer is. So now when we hit this, we flash, and now we're vulnerable again, but as long as we're invulnerable, we're flashing. Cool. All right, sorry guys, that was a complicated mess, and I wasn't fully prepared for it mentally, but we got it done. It works. You can play around with it some more. We can add some polish to this game eventually. I just want to show you guys how to get things working, and yeah. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, like and subscribe. If you're one of those people that doesn't like or subscribe because someone said to like and subscribe, you can just